This year is the rebirth of Mini, and this time it's triplets. Plus, there are 3 different fathers. So, first off, we've got the classic 3-door petrol hatchback from the UK. This is essentially a reskin version of what's come before, with the new look 5-door also returning to Australia shortly. Meanwhile, a more comprehensive redesign applies to the new 3rd generation Countryman small SUV that's now out of Germany, just like its BMW X1 fraternal twin. Check out our other CarsGuide videos for more on those. And then there's this, the new all-electric Cooper 3-door. Now all the 3-door hatches are known as Coopers from here on in, and as well as taking on the Audi A1 anniversary, it also is aiming for the new Renault 5 EV, as well as the Peugeot E208 and a raft of other premium runabout babies. Intrigued? Confused? Bored? Well, don't be. My name is Byron Mathioudakis for CarsGuide.com.au, braving the authentic British weather in it to show you why this is possibly the most interesting Mini since the 2001 BMW original. Tally-ho, let's go. So, when the 1959 original was launched in Australia 2 years later in 1961, it became a classless thing. It was a working class hero. But when BMW took over the brand in 1994, it turned into something quite premium. And that's reflected in the new 2024 Mini's pricing. Of the petrol Coopers, the cheapest is the Cooper C Core 3-door 3-cylinder turbo from $42,000 before on-road costs. But that's pretty basic, lacking adaptive cruise control and other driver assist safety tech. For these, you'll need the classic grade and up. That also brings a glass roof, heated front seats, augmented reality navigation, a surround view camera, and more. Meanwhile, the performance Minis start with the famous Cooper S, which now kicks off from $50,000, while you'll need $54,000 for the Cooper E Electric. While that's only a few $100s more than before, we were expecting lower prices given that the Cooper EV now comes out of China. Thankfully, the new electric Minis look $1 million. Okay, so every Mini has one thing in common, and that's this octagonal grille motif, and it extends into the Countryman and the Aceman and all those other Minis. But then they differ in the way their bonnets are shaped and the fact that the Cooper has these round headlights. But compared to the previous 3-door Minis, this one has got a longer wheelbase, it's got shorter overhangs, and it's got much cleaner surfacing. So they've taken away the plastic bits on the wheel arches and the fussy door handles, because what they've gone for is what they consider to be like authentic, clever simplicity. And you can also see that around the rear. Just imagine there's a CarsGuide number plate here. Anyway, you can imagine it around here with the pointy, simple tail lights that still manage to have the Union Jack motif when you put the brakes, the brakes on, and the clean kind of bumper surfaces, and it's all quite geometric and elegant. That's what Mini's gone for. It's still identifiably a Mini, but the real changes happen in here. So come inside. Well, I'm finally getting out of this rain. What of the restyled petrol Coopers? Actually, grafting the hip new nose and tail onto the old midsection works out pretty well. Proportionally, the EV version does look smarter, though to be fair, you need a keen eye to really spot the differences unless they're parked side by side. And they are almost identical from the inside too. Okay, this interior bears no resemblance to the previous Minis, like of any generation in terms of its detail and design. With the exception, of course, of this OLED screen, this circular OLED screen, which is one of the fastest and most intuitive I've ever used. In a world where everything is now based on a screen, once you just take a few minutes just to learn the icons and that sort of thing, it works with such speed and clarity and response. I think it's just excellent, and it looks good too. I mean, you know, it walks that fine line between being playful and being sophisticated. So the undercurrent of BMW engineering genius is evident in this screen. The rest of the interior, well, I love the fact that they use non-animal kind of vegan-esque materials, recycling, repurposed plastics and all that sort of stuff. It's everywhere, and yeah, it still imparts a sense of quality. The ambience is fantastic, especially with the lighting that you get on the more up-spec models. But it's still visibly mini, like the way it has been since 2001. The upright pillars, which affords quite a distinctive kind of outlook looking out of the car. Vision is good, mostly, and an excellent driving position. The toggle switches are another callback to the BMC original from 1959. There's a sense of space and there's a sense of storage. Well, there's door storage and there's a center console storage and there's a reasonably sized glove box and that sort of thing. Yeah, ventilation's good as well. What I don't like about this car, well, I've got to say that the side pillars, the door pillars are a bit thick, so it makes like changing lanes a bit tricky. So I'm very grateful for the driver assist systems. There's a center cubby here that opens as per a left-hand drive, not a right-hand drive car. See, it opens the wrong way, so that's a little bit disappointing. And generally, I mean, in the back, it's really kids only, or you know, for quite short adults, because there's not much space. I thought the backrest was a little bit too upright for long distance comfort, and the side windows don't open at the back like they haven't in small cars for years anyway. So it's quite basic back there, but you know, it's always been like that in Minis, I guess. Overall, this is a great interior execution. It's fresh, yet it's postmodern but fresh. You know, it still feels interesting and detailed and designer. So Mini's done a really good job in creating a new version of its interiors. Let's check out the back. And amazingly, Mini has still managed to keep the 210-ish litre boot capacity, even though it's got a battery pack and all that sort of stuff underneath here. So yeah, it's still useless as a family hold-all, just like Minis have always been. Oh well. Much the same also applies to the Cooper petrol model, which, by the way, also lacks a spare wheel. Except that, jumping in from the newer EV, you do notice the more upright windscreen and more cramped interior overall. And of course, the sound this Mini makes is far different as well. Now, I've got to say, I have a confession to make. I haven't figured out how to open this, but I can assure you that underneath this bonnet is an electric motor driving the front wheels, and of course there's a battery pack underneath this uniquely electric vehicle platform. Anyway, voice over me, and who'll be much drier than I am right now, will go into detail as to what all that entails. The Cooper E makes 135 kilowatts of power for 7.3 seconds to 100, while the sportier SE offers an extra 25 kilowatts to slice 0.6 seconds off that sprint time. Electricity is sent to the front wheels via a single-speed reduction gear automatic transmission. In contrast, the petrol Cooper C uses a 115 kilowatt, 1.5 litre, 3-cylinder turbo-petrol engine, while the hotshot Cooper S ups the ante with a 150 kilowatt, 2-litre, 4-pot turbo, slicing a whole second off to 100 at 6.6 seconds flat. Both drive the front wheels via a 7-speed dual-clutch transmission, which means sadly there are no manual Minis available. As with all modern era Minis, suspension with both types consists of McPherson-style struts up front, while a multi-link independent rear end is fitted to all models, which explains why they're never, ever a dull drive. Alright, I'm finally behind the wheel of the new electric Mini, and I've got to say that it's been worth the wait. Electrifying the Mini has just done it endless favours, because the way this chassis is tuned, and this is an all-electric platform with a low centre of gravity and a wheel at each corner, that sort of thing, it just suits the character of the car. Let's talk about acceleration first. It's quite frisky off the line. This is the SE version, and it's got certainly enough muscle for it to feel really rapid when you need it to be. The steering is responsive, and it has an alacrity and an agility that you expect from a Mini. I wouldn't say it's go-kart-like. It's certainly sharp, very tactile, but it just isn't quite that kind of go-kart thing that Mini bangs on about in its advertising, which is, I haven't driven a modern car with go-kart handling since a Lotus Elise. So anyway, back to this car. The electric platform also seems to have provided an excellent base for ride comfort. There's a suppleness to the ride and the dynamicism, which I wasn't expecting, but I'm delighted that it exists. It's got really good road holding in the Dandenongs, in the rain, on those twisty roads. The handling felt confident. There was a lot of grip from the front end, even though the roads were awash with water. It stayed planted and sure. It gave me a confidence to drive this fast. Overall, on this brief first drive in really terrible weather, the Mini more than impresses. It's exceeded my expectations, and it really feels like one of the most fun EVs I've ever driven. It lives up to what it says on the tin, basically. Anyway, so much for the electric version. Let's check out what the internal combustion engine version of the new Mini feels like. Louder, noisier, and not as soft riding, the petrol engine Coopers do feel like an older generation car compared to the EV versions. That said though, their dynamic signatures are broadly very similar. Sharp steering, grippy road holding, and a taut connected agility that the nameplate is synonymous for. The 1.5 litre 3-cylinder engine is rowdy and eager, but the pick would be the 2 litre 4-pot turbo, simply because it's smoother, sweeter, and a stronger car overall. I just wish Mini still bothered with a manual transmission. Well, I guess that's what the superb little Swift hybrid manual is for, eh? And speaking of efficiency, people just don't buy Minis because they're a hoot to drive. Great economy figures strongly as well. To that end, the 1.5 litre in the Cooper C averages 6 litres per 100 kilometres, which is nearly half a litre less than what the S's 2 litre can manage. Just remember that both prefer to sip from the premium unleaded petrol Bowser. Now, switching to electric, the Cooper E's 41 kWh lithium-ion battery pack offers a WLTP range average of about 300 kilometres, whilst the SE's larger 54 kWh battery handily bumps that range up by another 100 k's or so. Both include an 11 kilowatt AC charger, so the E will need about 18 hours to fully top up, and the SE about a day, or around 6 and 8 hours respectively, with the recommended 7 kilowatt wall box option. Find a 50 kilowatt plus DC charging station, and that's slashed down to an hour or even less. BMW says the combined average for both is around 14.5 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometres, which is very competitive. Okay, so much for the theory. In practice, during my drive in this car, in teeming rain out on rural roads, I managed to get 17.8 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometres. No crash test ratings have yet been revealed for these newest Cooper models. As mentioned earlier, there is a decent suite of driver assist tech fitted as standard, such as AEB and nicely nuanced lane support systems, as well as a plethora of airbags. Or is that plethora? Anyway, if you need to know more, please consult my full Mini Cooper review at carsguide.com.au. The same goes for warranty information, which is 5 years with unlimited kilometres. Like all BMWs, Minis have condition-based service intervals, while a number of prepaid plans are expected to be offered. Again, you can get more information at carsguide.com.au. What do I think? Well, this really is a tale of two minis. The regular petrol-powered Cooper S that I drove is what you'd expect. It's rapid, it's fast, it's enjoyable, it handles like you expect. You know, it basically does what BMW has built in this brand over the last 25 or so years. But the Mini E, well, I reckon E stands for elevated because it just adds another level of refinement as well as electrification genius that makes it even more fun, more enjoyable and more comfortable. It really is one of our favourite EVs that we've driven so far. Anyway, you can read the full review at carsguide.com.au, and as always, thanks for watching.